Hi guys, welcome to another edition of the Comic Book Syndicate Weekly. We've got a special guest here, Kurt Sasso, filling in for George, who unfortunately could not be with us today. We've got, as always, Michelle Siegel. My name is Mike L. We're going to come back right after this with some reviews of Guardians of the Galaxy, Brave and the Bold,
Yep.
And Hellblazer.
Hellblazer, you got it, right after this. Okay, first up this week, guys, Guardians of the Galaxy. Coming in at the beginning of, they're launching a new storyline with Thanos. I am a fan of these characters from the 70s, and you know, I've read the 70s run of Guardians of the Galaxy, of Adam Warlock and all that stuff. So big fans of that stuff, and coming into this, I already have a negative opinion of the writers from other stuff they've done, and I wasn't impressed. I didn't like the story. I didn't think the writing was good at all. I thought the art was excellent, but there's nothing in this that's going to make me want to come back. And I thought that a lot of the double talk about time travel and that just turned me off, because it just seems like a lot of nonsense. It's pretty easy to you know, kind of fool, like BS your way through time travel, but I just didn't think it was good at all. What did you think, Kurt?
Well, you know, for me, Thanos is one of my favorite characters. I've always loved his, you know, his personality, his lust for power, and the fact that, you know, he's that one character that basically rivals Wolverine in my opinion. But in terms of that type of indestructibility type deal,
yeah.
But you know, but that's beside the point. This type of aspect where you're jumping between future and past and everything like that, it's hard for me to follow, especially since it's jumping. It looks like right in the middle of a storyline that if you don't know anything about what's happening, you're pretty much screwed.
Yes, yes.
And the fact that they made Thanos, I think, too mortal in my opinion.
Yeah.
In this case, it was just like, well, you know, we reanimated him, and all of a sudden, oh, by the way, spoiler alert, we reanimated him, and all of a sudden, hey, look, we just disabled him. Great. Well, thanks a lot.
Not much of a story there.
No,
right?
no, pretty much. I don't think I want to read what happens next, personally.
So you don't recommend it?
I personally wouldn't. I'd say skip to something else.
All right, Michelle, what do you think?
I ran into issues with this comic because I actually don't know a lot of these characters, and they don't really, I mean, I read the description in the beginning about the backstory, but when I was going through it, honestly, it didn't give you a lot of backstory, and sometimes I appreciate that in comics, because for fans, they don't want to read all that stuff. So if you're huge into it, it looked like it had a lot to there, but honestly, I got lost a lot of times. I like the premise of this, the evilness being like this universal church of truth, and it's corrupt because this guy has seized it, Magus. Yeah. So it looked really, really interesting, but yeah, I was lost because I actually don't have a lot of backstory in this comic. So
yeah, if you're into these concepts, there's a series called Infinity Gauntlet from the late 80s, early 90s that's excellent, by Jim Starlin and George Perez. Just pick up that. This comic is a big disappointment, I think. On to the next one. Okay, here we go. Our next comic book is Brave and the Bold. Michelle, what did you think?
I was excited when I saw that Wonder Woman, Zatanna, and Batgirl were all going to be in the same comic. I was a little worried because...
Wait, isn't it Zatanna?
It's Zatanna.
Yeah.
Did you say Zatanna?
Minor technicality. Anyway, I think I know a bit more about this than you.
Okay.
Anyways, you know what? Honestly, it was good. It was a story, again, all into itself, all specific to that comic. It's not related to the overall series, so you don't need to read it to understand something that's going on in I almost said Bold and the Beautiful, in this overlying, but no, I liked it. It was sweet. At first I was ready to hate it because I thought they were just doing this sort of Sex in the City. It wasn't going to amount to anything, but it did amount to something, and I appreciate it. It's not as good as Sirens, the Poison Ivy, Catwoman, Harley Quinn thing. So if you're looking for something more like that, or something that has an all-girl team up that has sort of a little bit more action and substance and whatever, I would go with Gotham City Sirens. But this one, no, I enjoyed it. And the artwork was okay. I felt that a lot of the characters did sort of look very similar, but you know, I thought it worked for what it was.
Kurt?
Well, I actually enjoyed the story itself. You know, the artwork was very cartoony to me. Ironically, it's a comic, but it wasn't the hardcore like you normally see Zatanna or Wonder Woman or Batgirl for that. It was more of I don't know, I guess you could call it like an 80s style drawing, I guess it would be. But it was still a good story overall. You really got to see them in depth in their worlds, so to speak. And you're right, like you said, Michelle, their human side as well. But the overall of it, though, was just entertaining. It was just interesting to see that side, and I really enjoyed the ending, actually, because it really, for me, it brought everything into perspective, even though it was just a short one-off. So
Okay, I did not particularly enjoy this comic for a couple reasons. Other than the fact that it ties directly into the Killing Joke, if it didn't have that, I don't think it'd have much to rest on other than foreshadowing what is to come for the Batgirl character. And I don't really think it's particularly clever to foreshadow the exact name that she is going to take.
Why?
Because there's nothing subtle about it. It's like, by the way, you're gonna be Oracle,
But that's
Oracle, Oracle.
I think that's
in case
the whole
you didn't
point.
get it.
That's the whole point. That's the whole point, though. I think it's interesting because if you didn't read this comic, it's like a nice little Easter egg that that's why she's called Oracle, and it's good that it's coming from Wonder Woman and her. I think it makes utter sense, and people might have wondered why it was called.
So
Oracle.
okay, well here's the thing then. I guess the question is this Wonder Woman Zatanna foreshadowing that she's going to be called Oracle, or is this actually Wonder Woman giving her the idea to be Oracle?
I think it could be a little bit of both.
If it's her giving her the idea, it makes a little bit of sense because it's from Greek mythology. But I mean, it's not like it's particularly great foreshadowing. I mean, I don't know. To me, it's just too easy to take something that we already know and then cleverly foreshadow it in a story 20 years later. It's okay, but besides that, I've never liked Michael Straczynski's writing. I thought he ruined Spider-Man about 5 years ago. And also, I mean, the whole idea of Wonder Woman, they're at a bar and Batgirl's upset because no one's dancing with her.
Yeah.
So then Wonder Woman goes over, or
Zatanna.
Zatanna, and basically mind controls someone and says, go dance with her. And it's like, okay, that's nice, but it's completely phony. If Batgirl were to find out that guy only came and danced with her because she was mind controlled, wouldn't she be a little pissed?
Yeah, she would be a little pissed, but also the girl's trying to help out her friend and make her feel better about herself.
By lying to her. Okay, our next comic is Hellblazer, which was turned into the movie Constantine. So this is number 266, making it the longest running Vertigo title, and also one of the longest running current titles on the stands. This issue was written by Peter Milligan, who's a great British writer. Michelle, you can start us off. What did you think?
I really, really, really liked this comic. It's been a while since I've been into Constantine, and I was used to the comic, Hellblazer. I was used to it having a lot of religious critique to it, and this one definitely had that in there, and definitely had subtle references, well, sort of subtle references. And but what I appreciated about this one is it also goes into the political sphere, and they have these reanimated corpses full of dark entities that are a metaphor for an extreme conservative party. So I was kind of a fan of seeing what that meant, and I think one of the direct quotes was the anarchy in the UK anger was similar to their laissez-faire capitalist agenda, and I don't know, I appreciated it. The characters were good. The artwork reminded me of in the last review we did, what was it called? Wire Hangers. And I thought that it was similar to that, but it was a lot better. It was kind of more along the lines of what Wire Hanger I think should have adapted to, because it wasn't as exaggerated and it didn't take away from just being very interested in the characters. And I really, really appreciated this comic. I liked it a lot.
Kurt, what did you think?
Well, you know, I've enjoyed the Constantine film. I really enjoyed it, and I started reading it way back when, actually, once I saw the film, I was like, well, this is an interesting character. I really loved his grittiness, his dark side to it. In fact, that Keanu Reeves played him isn't too bad either. But I mean,
good job.
Yeah, I was surprised, actually. But with this type of comic, though, it had that dark, gritty feel that you don't get in many comics these days, where it's so... You know, it's amazing what they pull off with the shadowing aspect, not just the writing, which is amazing, but
It matched the characters, the feel of the characters too.
It truly did. It really did. It felt like, you know, you were really in that dark undertone of political society in the UK there, and it was just truly amazing. I thought this was a really great story overall, I have to admit.
Yeah. Starting with the art, Simon Bisley was one of the biggest artists in the early 90s. And so I'm a huge fan of his art. I did not like the color palette.
You didn't?
No, it's too muddy. I like bright, solid colors. The art could have been the exact same with just better coloring.
But do you think it would have the same effect if it was really?
For me, yeah, it would have. Yeah, I don't like the colors. This is a story you can't just read once. There's a lot going on here. I'm a huge punk fan. I love the Sex Pistols, and so the reference to Sid Vicious, obviously, I love. And the twisting around of the punk politics into the Tory party of the UK is interesting to me, because knowing, for example, Johnny Ramone, the guitarist from the Ramones, was a hard right-wing conservative. So at number 266, Hellblazer is going strong to me, and I'm actually looking forward to reading more issues. So I recommend this. Pick it up. It is a really good comic. So that wraps up part 1 of the crossover with TGT Web Comics. Look for part 2 coming very soon on his website.
Thank you to Border City, as always, for the comic books, and stay real, true believers.
To be continued.